Welcome back to Making Sense. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome. Do let us know where you are tuning in from for this exciting 1 hour today. If you're coming back, welcome back to another exciting conversation. I'm so excited about today's talk. So just to remind everybody what we are all about, Making Sense is about building a community of empowered people. We believe in shifting our mindsets and taking you to a different place every time we have this conversation. We draw a lot from the principles in my first book called Making Sense, and we expand on it to reach anybody who's feeling that their life is more, that they are purposeful about their life. They want to be more intentional about their life, their money, their businesses. Once again, keeping me company and co-hosting and again providing her amazing experiences is Sheba, Head of Training and Communications at Centonomy. Sheba, welcome.
Thank you so much, Waceke. Always grateful to have you here, to do this with you. It's a pleasure.
Okay. All right. Welcome back. Hope you're keeping well this week. And behind the scenes, you guys have never met them, but I just want to recognize my amazing team behind the scenes. Tessie, Charity, Beth, welcome. As we go through this session, please post your comments and questions on the chat as we go along. We'll try and answer the questions you have as much as possible, and even your comments as we go along, and keep talking about this wave of financial empowerment. So last week, let me pick up from where we stopped last week. Last week, I quoted on what courage is. And if you missed last week, we were talking about fear. So please go back through our Facebook page or on our YouTube channel, and you can see the entire session last week on fear. I encourage you to please look at it, because fear is something. But I quoted that courage is not the absence of fear, but the determination that something is more important than the fear, and even worth coming face to face with the fear. Now, there's a couple of years ago, I almost missed a flight. I was in an airport in Johannesburg. And you know why? I was listening to a music in a CD shop. This, by the way, was pre-Spotify, pre-Apple Music, pre-Deezer, and all those other apps that we use. These are the good old days of you buy a CD. And they used to have these shops where you can listen to whatever you want and put on headphones. And when I started listening, I got completely lost in the music. And yes, I knew my flight was about to be called, but I just got completely lost. And for that moment, it was worth the risk. And that's what I was saying, what's worth coming to face with the fear? But why I remember it so well is because of the moment. I was completely in flow, and it was completely worth it. I was lost in my own world. And today we are talking about the topic of enough. How much is enough? How much money is enough? So first, I want to tell you, everybody listening, and I want you to take a breath and accept you are enough. Please say that to yourself. You are enough.
I am enough.
I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. And the reason I'm telling you to say that you are enough is because without you understanding that you are enough, we can talk here and talk about money until we are blue in the face. You are never going to feel that the money is enough if you feel insecure about yourself at some level. Especially now, because of what we have gone through, are still going through, trying to figure out what does the next step mean for all of us. There is so much we feel about not being enough. People have been in various situations. Businesses have been affected, jobs have been affected, incomes have been affected, and the talk is still a lot of we don't have enough. So many times we think money will solve the problem. And sure, it eases the pain, but before you can use and start to understand how money comes in, you've got to understand, what are your moments? What are your moments when you put on the headphones and you just feel all right with the world? What are those moments for you that make life enough? Because the thing is, true wealth, and I'm calling it true wealth because this is not wealth that can be disrupted, because true wealth comes from within and it comes with an abundant spirit. And you need to understand that you're enough to tap into that abundant spirit that we all have. When you feel you're not enough, I'm not good enough, and consistently reaffirming to yourself, I don't have this or that, or I am a victim because this has happened, and you don't allow yourself to have moments of enoughness, scarcity will take over your life, and you will perceive things through that scarcity. You can have millions and want more, and that is why people who are corrupt keep stealing, because the last 100 million they stole was still not enough. So we've got to ask ourselves, since also out there we see people who, in our opinion, have so much, yet they're still complaining and taking more and wanting more, then we've got to understand it's not money that gives us that power. So the same reason why people who get money instantly through things like gambling lose it very quickly. So money can never be your source of enough. It does not have money. It does not have power to seal that void. So on page 36 of the Making Sense book, I wrote this, and I said, depending on money to give you identity is too big of a job description for money. It's like telling your 5-year-old daughter or son that they are now the family doctor. So yes, we have gone through a lot of things. But before we even get to the money side, I want to kick off by telling you it cannot be money to give you your sense of enough. So take a moment and say, if it's not money, what gives me my sense of enoughness? Sheba, what gives you your sense of enoughness?
Just being able to know that I have value that cannot be, that no one can put a price to it. Being able to know that, with or without money, I'm able to, I have a mission and I have a purpose in life that God sent me here. And it's not purely, he wasn't thinking about money when he created me. He wasn't thinking about money when he wanted me to do the things he wants me to do. And another thing that just reminds me that I am enough is unconditional love from the people who love me. And I realize who are very open and real with me. And I realize it doesn't, when I meet them, it's not about what I have, whether I have it or not. It's about they see me as who I am. And that just reminds me we are more than money. What we already have and what God has put in us is enough, is what makes us who we are. We cannot identify ourselves with material things. We are more than
that. Amen. Amen to that. And Sheba, I like that you said it's my sense of where I come from, who created me, God, because I want to make this a bit more practical for people. Yeah. If we're saying, to start off this conversation, that money cannot be your sense of enough, what should you depend on right now? And please, if you're listening to this, please let us know what makes you enough, because we are saying money does not have the power to seal that void. Money cannot be your identity. So I want to suggest 3 things. Yeah. And the first one is from the book of Psalms, and also was made into a song by Bonnie M. Yeah. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing unto you. And I think what it's telling us, where do I get my enough from? What do you talk about? That is a sure way to start understanding, where is my sense of self? Where is my sense of identity? Are you always talking about what is not right in your life? Are you always, even the conversations you have by yourself in your head, yeah? Are you always talking about what is wrong? Are you always talking about what you wish you had done? Because the things we speak about ultimately become the things we actually think about and ultimately do. God is on the right side of the conversation. He's not on the victim side of the conversation. So words of your mouth, meditation of my heart. What conversations are you plugging into? What are you reading? What are you exposing yourself to? Yeah. A couple of days ago, I saw this comment on our social media platform. We were talking about the Centonomy entrepreneur class that is coming up next week, and this particular person was saying how can we feel like we can run classes? The world is so 99.9% of businesses are suffering, and even put an emoji there of laughing because it's like, you guys are so stupid. You think that you can run classes at this time. And I felt so sorry for that guy. And if the guy is here listening, I hope you have tuned in today. Yeah. Circumstances will cloud your head, and we all have circumstances. Circumstances will always come to cloud, and it's okay to take a moment to feel what you need to feel, but you need to get your head out of your circumstances, because it is not your circumstances that will push you forward. It is the way you are thinking that will push you forward. So whatever circumstance you find yourself in this point in time, please get your head out of your circumstances. And if you need to get your head out of your circumstances, you need to plug into different conversations, move over to different friends, read something different, watch something different. Please do that. But first step is get your head out of your circumstances. And then don't assume just because the people who are complaining are talking the loudest, that has to be your reality and truth. I think we've come to a point where when we're being told it's reset, we all have a responsibility to decide from here henceforth, what is going to be my truth? The truth is not necessarily what you read in the newspaper. Those are facts. This is what is happening, yeah? But what is going to be your truth? Is your truth that I'm never going to make it? COVID has come and destroyed my business. I can never get up again. I am not worth it. Is it because I don't have a job, I cannot engage and talk to a CEO? Is that your truth? That truth is only coming from you. It doesn't have to be your reality. The words of your mouth, the meditation of your heart. Please align that to where you want to go, and you will start getting a sense of adequacy within yourself, because what you expose yourself to is ultimately what becomes your destiny. Secondly, so where do you get our enough from? Moments. What are your moments? What gives you flow? The way I was describing that, it is being in that shop listening to music. What gives you flow? And sometimes we don't allow ourselves joy. We don't allow ourselves to have moments because there's always a to-do list that never ends. I will enjoy when I have more money, when I have more time, when the kids are quiet, when the kids have finished school, when the house is in order. And what gives you flow? When I'm in flow, when I'm preparing for a session like this, and think about flow like watching a really good movie when you're just totally engaged. Nobody has taken your right to go and sit under a tree and read a book. And many moments that give you energy and life look like a complete waste of time, because we live in a world that has idolized busyness so much that we don't stop to take a minute and say, hiya, what builds me up? What gives me energy? Is it reading a book? Is it playing with your kids? Is it sitting and staring at the wall? For me, of course, even travel has been part of that flow, but we can't travel now. But even now, even without, just because you don't have a job doesn't mean you don't have flow. What gives you flow? Is it cooking? Is it a particular conversation with somebody? Please allow yourself moments of flow. And then lastly, this is still the things that outside of money to give you a sense of enough. In the Bible, when God created us, and Sheba, you talked about who created you. God said he gave us fruit-bearing seed. He did not give us the fruit itself. And many times we feel not enough because we can't see the fruit. But out of that seed, trees grow and we are fed, because trees have no inferiority complex about the enoughness of their seed. The avocado seed is not comparing itself with the orange seed. The avocado tree is not looking at the orchard and saying, I wish I was that. Have you taken time to understand your seed? And seed is not money. I want you to understand seed is not money. Remember, we have fruit because it is the seed that is multiplied. Nobody planted an orange peel or an orange pulp. They planted the seed, not the flesh of the fruit. Yeah. So when you're thinking about what is enough, what is your seed? And everything I've mentioned, words of your mouth and meditation of your heart, understanding the moments that give you life and energy, and understanding what your particular brand of seed is. None of this require money, but it is the foundation. And the place we now find ourselves in is a place where we're being asked to go back to the foundation. Some of us earned money and then money was halted. Some of us are still earning money. And has earning more money over time made you happier? For a lot of people, they are finding the answer is no. And what COVID has done is allowed us space and time sometimes to have to deal with these hard questions. Who are you without the money? What do you speak? What do you do? How do you enjoy yourself? What is that seed? And when I talk about seed, don't underestimate the things that the world will not clap for you. Like if you say you're a good listener, the world is not going to clap for you because you're a good listener, but maybe that's your seed. Good listeners make good motivational speakers. I do what I do primarily, not because I have so much knowledge, but because I have the ability to listen and communicate what I listen. So nobody taught me that. That is just seed. So please understand that that is actually your seed.
First of all, this is a really amazing conversation because it's causing us to think about what more. And it's causing us to really spend some time with ourselves to think about. There's an article that we usually have in the 101 class where you talk about who are you without the money. And sometimes it's just like, usually, when you hear people, I have a title, I have all this. But when you really spend some time, as you're saying, to really go deeper and think, so who am I? What's my seed? Do I even know what my seed is? Because maybe if I take some time right now to understand my seed, I can even know which is the best place to till it in. I'd like to welcome all our guests. I'm seeing Alan Collins tuned in from Dubai saying, hey, favorite teacher, and Liz from Dubai as well. And Alan has said money can never be a source of enough. It's true. We are obsessed with scarcity. We are obsessed with, there's this thing that I'm reading right now about some of the things that actually sabotage our ability to become the people who we were created to be. And one is that desire or feeling that you need to achieve more every other time. I need to get another job. I need to get a bigger salary. I need to get another baby and a bigger house. And you end up identifying yourself with achievements until when a situation comes that takes away some achievements from you, or a glitch happens, you freak out, you feel bad, you don't even know what to do. And one of the things that I have been encouraged, and I'm even keeping on encouraging myself, by the way, what you've said about what gives you flow is something that has really stood out for me, especially during these COVID times, where when I'm feeling like things are falling apart, or things are not going the way they were supposed to, this was supposed to be a 2020 that looked like this. I remember the things that put me in a flow, in a creative sense, that energize me. For example, listening to podcasts, for example, meditating or speaking to people who are also, encouraging, because I've learned if I spend some time on social media and I start binging on news or tweets or communications that are negative, I also get into a negative slump. So I really like what you've said about what are you doing to make sure that you are in flow as much as you can. As much as you can, and remembering that you're human, and also because just to remember that we are not our achievements, right? We shouldn't be identified by our achievements. Sometimes they can come, then they can go, and does that mean you're empty? You're not empty.
Thank you for the people who have commented. Thank you, Sheba, for that. Thank you, Alan. Welcome back, LC. I think what we need to do, everybody listening here, is the mindset shift, or as Sheba and I like to call it, the yoke that we have to break, is that I am better because I have more money. That is what we're trying to break here in this conversation. Yeah. So if for a minute we paused and said, if for a minute I stopped thinking money is the issue, no matter what your situation is now, because the truth is, even in this season, I've talked to people who have money and they still think money is the problem. I've talked to people who have lost money and they still think money is a problem. I know, and we are coming to that part where we are going to deal more with the practicalities of this conversation with the money. But if you were for a minute to stop and say, if it was not money, what truly, truly is a problem? And many of us never want to go that deep, because we are going to start finding, what have we allowed to cover the seed, or to rot the fruit that it has touched the seed? And that's what when we say we have to reset, we have to go there. So many times we've allowed the world to come inside so much that we keep believing more, a bigger title, a bigger car, a better job. I don't think those things are bad. Yeah, I don't think going for those things is bad, but it cannot be what makes you feel better about yourself. Feel better listening to our podcast, feel better understanding, oh my goodness, I am a creative and this is my God-given ability. So it is up to me to start seeing how I'm going to help the world with God-given ability. So we just want to take a pause and start saying, if we were not to blame money for a second, what does it uncover? And what do we have to actually deal with in our lives? A lot of people have come to me and said they did run away from dealing with the true things going on in their families, because it was I'm in the office, I'm working hard for this family. Really, were you working hard for this family when all that time, well, when what your kids really needed was you at home? So what was that obsessiveness with spending 12 hours in the office about? And many times you are escaping something. What is that you are escaping? Which you still make money the excuse. Do not make money the excuse to run away from yourself, because this conversation, we want to deal with you from yourself. There's nothing else we are working with here. We're not saying have 10 million shillings so you can plug into these conversations or these sessions we have to create wealth. We're not saying that. All we are saying, the people we have to deal in is you, the person of purpose. So take enough time to understand who is that person. Yeah. LT Tech is for saying, as a man, woman thinketh, so is he. How do I think? Yeah. Being productive, and I can see your state, being productive, my line of work, I feel fulfilled. So it's the fulfillment. Yeah. So you feel fulfilled when you work. So it's the fulfillment you're after. So if the line of work ever has to change, what you're after is, what gives me flow? What gives me a sense of fulfillment? And sometimes you move seasons where what was giving you fulfillment in one season is forced to change into something else. So it's not the work itself, it's not the job itself, it's not the business itself. All those are important, but it's the fulfillment, it's the joy, it's the peace, it's the progressiveness. That's what we are looking for. And everybody has that. Money does not define that at all. So let's link this conversation to the money. Why is the identity? We're saying for you to be enough, money is not what is needed. So please take as much time, as many courses, as much reading, as many conversations, dig yourself into meditations, dig yourself into the Bible to completely, this is the most important thing you have to do in your life, completely connect to your identity without money, because this is the foundation, whether you have to deal with less money and whether you have to deal with making more money. So I'm going to deal with the first one, yeah? And I'm going to put up a slide that just shows us when we don't think we're enough, the challenge we get ourselves into. So on screen shortly yeah, I think it's on screen now. You will see a rat. This is what we call the rat race. And it is called the rat race because it's that cycle of where we always think happiness is just around the corner. Where I've come from with my first part of this talk is that happiness is within you. Find it. Find your fulfillment. Find your moment. Find your meditation. Find your conversations. Find your seed. That is happiness, yeah? But when we think happiness is just around the corner, if I achieve something more, what do we tend to do? We work harder, yeah? We earn more money. Then we buy more things. And when we buy more things, we are hit with scarcity. Oh, but Samsung has come out with another phone. But I want this bigger car. But I want this bigger house. Oh yes, I've gotten a promotion, but now I want the bigger job. I want the regional job. And then we keep going and keep going and keep going. And in some way, for many of us, COVID came and interrupted something in this cycle. It either interrupted the work harder, it either interrupted the earn more money, it either interrupted the buy things, and it, for all of us, interrupted our ability to keep going on this cycle. And we've been going on this cycle for so long without realizing something is wrong, because there's always a bigger place, a bigger agenda to strive for. So if I'm always convincing myself, if I just work harder, this is what I'm always telling myself, I am not good enough. Working harder is not a problem, but the motive behind working harder, I am not good enough. It is me. Something wrong is me. I was not born in the right family, so I have to work harder. All that saying, if I only get the next step, and then when you get the next step, you want another. When you sit and reflect, if you can go back 10 years into your life, if you can go back 10 years, you're probably earning more money, you got the titles, you got the exposure, you got the accolades. Are you happy? If the answer is still in your head, you're still, no, I need to get to the next level. Even if you win the Nobel Peace Prize, you're not going to be happy, yeah? So we earn more money. Again, this one we think, I'm earning 100K. If only I could earn 150. If only I could earn 500. If only I could earn. Nothing wrong with earning more money. But again, the motive. Earn more money so you can achieve your goals, fine. But earn more money because I think it's gonna make me happier. Wrong. Money does not have the power to make you happy. Remember, I quoted from the book, that is too big of a job description for money. Give money the job description of becoming the tool for the life you have, but not the life itself. Then you buy more things, and then the world just shows you how that's not enough. Oh, you thought moving to that apartment was good. Then your colleagues tell you how they live here and there. So you convince yourself, let me keep going. We have to get out of this rat race. And for COVID, we were forced to face ourselves because maybe you can't be as busy as you used to. You can't work harder. Maybe you're not earning as much money as you used to. So you have to face that and understand, oh my goodness, if I have to move back to my parents, it has defined my happiness. If I have to cut back on certain expenditures, it has defined my happiness. And for some of people who still were earning money, the impulse buyers, the impulse spenders out there, they used to buy things to fill a void. Now you can't go out and buy as many things or want to buy as many things because we were not moving around as much. It has affected you. And it's important you realize this. So even as we transition back into some sort of activity, whatever this activity is going to look like, let's not lose sight of what the lesson here actually is.
Yeah, I have just seen that the photo that you put up there.
Yeah.
And as we're having this conversation, one of the things that really stands out to me is, as a human race, one of the biggest things we do to ourselves is we judge ourselves too harshly. We judge ourselves too harshly. Like, I was seeing that rat race illustration, and I have just realized that it's so easy. The only reason I want another, and I'm not even spending some time to see, at least now I have some time with family, or now I want a bigger this. It's because the real thing is at the bottom of it all. I am judging myself by saying, this is not enough. I should be better. I should be better. And you know, the thing is with judging yourself so harshly and not being able to catch it. You know, it's one thing to judge yourself and then realize, hey, you're judging yourself. I'm judging myself, so I'm able to slow that down. But if I don't know that is what I'm doing, I stand a chance to be I will not be happy with my current circumstance ever. Because I remember reading a place that a book, a phrase that was written that millions of people pass away or die when they are still on their journey to to satisfy their last condition. To satisfy their last condition, their last goal. So that's why you keep on finding yourself in a situation where even by the time you're passing on, people are even saying, she still wanted to, he still wanted to. And it's because we are judging ourselves so harshly. What I'm learning today is, I've picked it up from you, Waceke. You said, let money be the tool to buy the things you want in life, but not for it to be the life. That is a really, really important thing, because society has really caused us to think like money is a main thing we need for us to be happy. And I'm not saying it's not a good thing. It's just that it's not the source.
It's not the source. And I think that word source, Sheba, is the right word we are saying. Even Patricia is saying the coveting and comparison are some of the enemies to progress and fulfillment. It's that word source. What is your source? And a lot of people will say, my source is not money. Because it sounds logical and the right thing to say. My source is my family, my source is God. But I'm going to ask you, really, when something happens in your financial situation, do you feel inferior or superior? Because when we're saying money is not the source, it's about saying, I am rooted, I am grounded. If my situation changes, I will feel bad, but I do not look at myself with a sense of condemnation and failure because I have less. And neither, on the other side of the equation, do I go when I have more, want to shove it around and consider myself superior to others. So it's about, can you be balanced with or without money? And the reason that is so important, when you can reach that place where you're balanced with or without money, it even opens the doors to get more, because you now have an identity and a character that can actually handle more. So let me first handle the less part, and I'll go back to, if you're in a situation where you're earning less, what is really, really bothering you? I understand your lifestyle, worrying about survival, but isn't what really, really bothers us that we feel less? What is eating you up at night? What is making you not sleep? That you feel less? You feel like you have failed. You worry that other people think you are less. And because you're in that less space, you also start considering your opportunities as small. So you just feel less. And this is what you have to understand. Money, that piece of paper, we have given it the power, and this is not your fault. It is because of messaging, it is beliefs, it is because of our world money system and messaging that is there, that when you have less money, you should feel like a failure. And when we feel like that, we have the cloud, we are now allowing rot to come into the seed. You can live on less without it becoming an inferiority complex, without it becoming your identity. You will feel bad. Feeling bad will be there. But last week when we were talking about fear, we kept saying there's a difference between your feelings and the truth. And even with this where you sometimes have to deal with less, you will feel bad about it, but feelings are not the truth. Remember, the truth is you are fruit-bearing seed. You are that person who has moments that are so unique. What gives you energy to you? So you'll have to deal with less because you need to survive. And it's okay. It's okay to to be on survival as well. And I just want to remind people, we've used this slide before, but I just want to put it in the context of this particular discussion. We started, when we first did this chart, we did this ABC of how to make your money stretch. And A really is your essentials. B is you like them, but if you have to stop them, you stop them. And C are our luxuries, our subscriptions, our entertainment, and things like that. Now, in the context of this discussion, what we are saying, life will always take you in circumstances where you have to. Sometimes you can be an A plus B plus C person, and then sometimes you'll have to do live A plus B. Sometimes you'll only be on A. Sometimes you'll even be quarter A, moving back to your parents' house. But what we're saying here, you are still the same seed that will become a tree that will bear fruit, whether you're on A, B, C. There are some people out there that are using C's to cover up the rot that is inside. So don't compare. As someone, Patrick, I think said on the chat, don't compare. Whether you're on A, you are enough. B, you're enough. Whether you're willing to do C, you are enough. And when you stop doing that, you start having a very unique relationship with money, because most people are still, when I earn more, I spend more. But when you understand that even if I live on less, it does not define me. Sometimes it's survival, like many of us have found ourselves now. So if you're surviving, it is okay. Survival does not identify you. Sometimes you live on less to do bigger things. In the Making Sense book, Faith tells us her story and how her and her husband sold their house in a very prestigious neighborhood to go back down to the basics and create real wealth. So they were living in this house. People asked them, are you serious? You're going to stop living in this neighborhood, in this kind of a house, to go live in an apartment? But if you look what they've done years later, they have built apartments and they have created wealth. So the other people who are telling Faith, how could you leave your house, are the people who have not realized that they are enough without the house. Faith and her husband realized we are enough without the house. And wealth is created when you're willing to take away things for a moment so that you can do bigger things in the long term, like Faith and her husband have done. In my story, I've talked a lot about even things that we take for granted. Lunch is a holiday. So even saying, I'm going to eat less, I'm going to carry packed food from home to have a holiday. When I go on holiday, it exposes me, it exposes my mind. Whether or not I have to in the cycle of life, sometimes live on A and have no holiday, that experience was a moment for me that has done something to my character. Do you want to make money to continue investing in things that do something for your character or do something for your image? Image is okay, but it is not what bears fruit. Let us be very clear. Image is not what bears fruit. And then we also understand when you learn to deal with less, that less actually is more. That 300 bob led to Centonomy. I had a moment in Centonomy where I couldn't even withdraw money from the ATM. And I had to remind myself, my seed was, I am mentally able. In the book, I talk about a young man called Dishon, who started making with less, realizing 3,000 bob, I can start making bracelets. And this led all the way to him, going and starting farming and a lot of other things that you'll see. So sometimes what looks like less is more. Many times I have met the person driving the battered old truck and pickup, but what they have going for them is a lot of wealth, but the person driving the Range Rover is speeding on the way to poverty. So whichever way you have to do less, when you are enough, it doesn't shake you. It's just a rung on the ladder. It's just a stumble on the road. It's just a step you have to take on the journey to your destiny. It's understanding, who am I without the money? I keep defining myself as I'm a student of life. Whether I have 300 bob in the ATM that I can't withdraw, or whether I have 1 million, I continue being a student of life. It doesn't change. I don't show up here every Friday. I don't teach Centonomy classes because I know it all. but I know I'm the kind of person who can learn from everything, even sitting under a tree. I can watch that tree and those leaves will become a lesson. So it's important to understand that what do you have that money does not take away? Then whether you have to do A or B or C, you are okay. Whether you can do C for a moment, but now you can't do C, you are still okay.
I have a question, Waceke.
So yes.
And even before I asked the question, Rita Vela Naomi is saying, thank you, you're changing my way of looking at things. You have no idea. Naomi, you know what? We have an idea because
Amen. Thank you, Rita.
We are actually in that space as well. We've gone through that even in our own lives. And Tabitha Barbara is saying, it's all about expectations of others towards our lives, other people's opinions. Our families, friends expect us to be or live a certain way. And when it's not happening, we feel like we have failed. That's one of the things that's causing people to feel like money is what makes you to be enough. And Waceke, I want you to speak to someone who is currently thinking about, yes, we are talking about how much. It's not, money is not the only thing. I think that's what we are saying right now, for us to understand our seed, so that even when we are not making as much as we want, or we are not reaching as high as we want to reach, we still know that we are worthwhile and we are valuable and that we matter. But the main thing that we are seeing, especially right now in the midst of COVID, is the main knee-jerk reaction that is happening is an effect to money. Either a pay cut, or your business ends up losing or its revenues, or someone losing their job and getting an early retrenchment or early retirement. What are some of the things you would encourage someone who is in that space, who is feeling, and yet you're saying money is not enough,
I think someone in that situation, in fact, this is the gift. If you're facing a financial challenge right now, this is the gift you've been given. And this gift, just understand that this gift can only come by fire. It can only come by fire. Yesterday I was reflecting about that story in the Bible where Jesus showed up in the fire. We come and say he saved the 3 men, but we never realized it was inside the fire. Yeah. So this is the gift you're being given in the fire. And I'll tell it through my own story. And I've told this story before because I have been in that fire and continue to be in that fire. Yeah. Where I started. Please, for anyone listening, please take this, especially if it's money, please take the irony of my story. I started doing financial planning for people when I was at the brokest period in my life. It was not COVID then, but my first business had collapsed. I was feeling like a failure. I had let partners down. I had let customers down. And the seed in me was telling me, start teaching people about financial planning. This is the thing about the purposes God put in us. They are usually so contrary to our circumstances. And many of us are continuing to wait for our circumstances to match what our seed is telling us, what our moments are telling us. So my seed, and whatever you have been through, it's time for you to start saying, what is the lesson? Some people have lost their jobs, and when they are really, really, really honest with themselves, they were struggling with that job from before. Something in them was not fitting, but it's just the shock of losing the job and shock of losing the money that if we don't do the awareness and the evaluation, we will go back. We will need another COVID to get us out of it, yeah? So I went and started doing financial planning with all the fears in my head because I was like, will the client ask how much money I have? And I don't have any money. But this is when you understand the power of fertilizing the seed. I read, I talked to people who had created wealth, and I made sure by the time I showed up to that client, I had my facts right, because me understanding money had nothing to do with me having money in the bank. So that seed that is calling has nothing to do with where you live. It has nothing to do with what the bank is telling you to do. Those situations are painful. And I'm not going to lie, I felt bad But this is when you have to tell your emotions, I know emotions, you're saying this, but for this moment when I'm with this client, you are stepping out. We can feel bad. And after I saw the client, and I was like, aha, I have something to give. I have something to give. So any of you who has lost that, this is what you have to do for yourself. And we're in a time where people have to learn to be their biggest cheerleader. You have something to give. You have something to give. There's a way you're relevant. Have you taken time to find it? Or are you busy trying to go back to a world where other people define your relevance for you? So what I chose in that moment was to keep defining my relevance, keep improving. Yeah, and Brian, I know you've listed all those fears, all these fears. And yes, don't let those fears control you. What can you do? So you've lost your job. Yeah, it's a job, but what can you do? Are you a good listener? Can you read? Can you write? Can you cook? Have you wanted to go into manufacturing? Are you learning about that? I know the money part is an issue, so it's almost starting to learn to compartmentalize. These are the hours I will stress about money, we'll do the budgets, see what has to be done. Once you have done what you can do about your situation, it is time to move forward. Even if all you can do for that day is move your mind forward. So Sheba, I hope I've answered the question with that.
Yeah, you have answered it. And what I've really taken home is God's mission in our lives many times is contrary or directly opposite to our current circumstances.
Yes,
so just because you're running out of your money, or you're not feeling well, or things are really confusing, doesn't mean that that's what God's mission is for you. That's amazing.
And guys, I want to really talk about this because this message has been close to my heart. As I talked about earlier about the person on social media who I felt sorry for, because they're like, how can you be running classes when all this is going on? It is very dangerous to have low expectations because of an external circumstance. And it is a circumstance, we have to deal with it. But that's why I was saying, do what you need to survive. And once that, what you can do, you have done what you can do. Yeah, you may not have all the answers, but you've done what you can do. Move on. Yeah, start saying, okay, this is where I'd actually like to be. Because you cannot shrink into greatness. Every one of us, we are here because I believe the people who spent time on Friday tuning into this conversation, the people who join us on our Centonomy classes and other events that we have, you're there because something inside of you tells you there is more. So I am speaking, and I can see from the comments, today I am speaking, and I want to speak to those people who are willing to get in touch with that side of them that tells them there is more. You cannot shrink into greatness. So the world has shrunk. That cannot be you. You cannot, in fact, let me use another story in this book called Agnes. If you've read the book, you know about Agnes. I talk about her in the beginning. So to make it short, Agnes didn't have COVID, but she had all the reasons to give up on life. High school dropout. By the time she was very young, she had 2 kids from 2 different men. Her mom ran a kiosk and she joined her mom in the kiosk. Not somebody who you think whatever, but Agnes didn't have low expectations despite her circumstances. And the story is that she started buying property slowly and started putting up housing. And by the time I was doing the book, and I had heard of Agnes, she was earning over 500,000 shillings a month. Yeah. So she didn't allow circumstances to be her identity. We have Amos. I know Amos. Amos came to me as a watchman, then he became a messenger, then he started being a driver. And by the time Amos, actually, his video is on YouTube, did the video with Centonomy, he did the Centonomy classes, he had become a landowner and now owned taxis. So that is just making sure that your expectations of yourself rise above your circumstances. And having high expectations of yourself doesn't mean that you condemn yourself when things don't go your way. It is okay to get disappointment because that is the muscle we also have to build. Sometimes we keep our expectations low because we don't want to disappoint ourselves. We cannot, that's shrinking, trying to become great, trying to become wealthy, trying to become successful, trying to grow a business, grow a career, but you want to do it in a way like an egg covered. but you can't do it as an egg. That shell has to break, yeah, for that seed to actually come out. So it's about a healthy more. And I remember I'm saying, even as you strive to more, remember you can make it more without it becoming a superiority complex and also your identity. If you ever come across people who are patronizing you because of what they have or what titles they hold, please understand this. They are also dealing secretly with an inferiority complex. That's why they need to throw their titles and who they know and what they have in front of you. And sometimes many of us are like, hey, if more money is going to make me that, I don't want it, yeah? Remember, you can buy a car without your identity changing. You can also buy a good car without being so scared of having to sell it or downgrade. So if you can afford it, we're not saying these things are bad. Buy, go on holiday, buy the home. But you can do that with a free spirit, knowing that if the day comes and I have to be on A, I'm also okay with it, yeah? You can handle more when you don't have the fear of sustaining it. When you make more with the fear of not being able to sustain it, it will just come back to keep telling you not enough, not enough, not enough, not enough. So what stops us from a healthy version of more? And a healthy version of more is what we're talking about today. That's what we want you to have, a healthy version of more, a healthy relationship more. What stops you from a healthy more is your identity. And what we have now said, nurture that identity, the seed, the meditations, the words you use, the moments you have, nurture that and be brutal with giving yourself that. What do you expect? Just because you call yourself a teller at the bank does not mean there's not a CEO of the bank inside of you. So what you need to start connecting with is that CEO sitting inside of you and observing, seeing what do I have to learn? What do I have to do to push myself forward? Just because you earn 10,000 shillings today does not stop you from learning about the million bob opportunities. I remember when I was in the brokest, I went for this talk, and it was a real estate talk, and they were looking for people who had, I think, $1 million to invest. I had nothing, but I went. Of course, I was like, okay, we'll have snacks. But when I went there, it just started opening up my mind. Then you also realize these people who have $1 million are humans as well. And even sometimes what you have and even the questions you have to ask, even if you can't invest, are valid. And especially now when there's a lot of stuff going out there that you can easily plug into online. You can come for Centonomy online, and there are a couple of other things going wrong. Just because you don't have a job does not stop you from learning how to start a business, does not stop you from learning how to be a CEO, does not stop you at all, yeah? So it's your identity, what you expect and what you do. The minute, even in my brokest, I defined myself as a financial planner, it changed everything. I researched, I practiced and went ahead. Do not try and protect yourself from disappointment. You can handle it. Remember, you don't necessarily get what you want or what you are just dreaming about. You get who you are. So you really, really, really have to work on who you are. Yeah.
Wow, this has been profound. We've been to church and back. We've been to the church and the bank.
Church and class, yeah.
And even the bank. I really like what you've just said about, even if you're a teller, and it doesn't mean there's no, CEO of the bank in you.
Yeah.
And it's something so critical when you put it like that, because, the lying judge in your head can cause you to feel like this is it for me. If you find yourself employed, if you find yourself like there's not enough money coming from the business, I like what you've said. Tap into that CEO. Tap into the wealthy person. That's really amazing. Naomi Araka, main challenge isn't really the learning. It's the unlearning that is the Herculean task. And Pauline Wahome, always joining us every single Friday. She's saying, I've been blessed being a Centonomy alumni, and we are really blessed to have you with us as well.
Naomi, I just want to pick on Naomi. You're so right, Naomi. It's the unlearning. And the unlearning only happens, first of all, through awareness. So I think we're going into a period where people cannot afford not to be self-aware. So start noticing things about yourself. I was listening to a sermon by T.D. Jakes, and he was saying it's time we start dating ourselves, yeah? So that you can learn, you can see, how did I react to that? What was wrong about that? But also spending time in doing the things that help us unlearn. I can't unlearn if I'm speaking to the same old people about the same old things about how the economy is bad. I can't unlearn anything. But if I plug into conversations I thought were beyond me, if I start plugging into those kind of conversations, that's how your mind starts to open. So that a lot of the unlearning is going to be, how willing are we to invest in exposing ourselves to something different, yeah? And even as we wrap up, I really wish we had more time, but don't worry, we're going to continue these conversations of making sense. And even as I wrap up, I just want you to understand, today I have not given a formula to find how much is enough. So this was not a talk where today we're going to do a calculation and you come and say, okay, for me, 10 million is enough. That's when I reach 10 million, I will have it. Because if it was just about a formula, you'll reach the 10 million and still want another and another. If we didn't have the conversation this way, you'd want 10 million and another and another. And finding out how much is enough now, when you can come and do calculations, and I know in the Centonomy 101 class, we help you build a financial plan so that you can actually understand those figures better. But what we have laid the foundation is today, it's not about a formula, and it's different for everybody. My enough is not my enough, because what I want to experience in life is different from what you want to experience. And quite frankly, what I was made to be and do is so much different from what you are made to be and do. What we're saying today is, find yourself, find your moments, find your listening to music with a headphone at an airport and I almost missed a flight. That was a moment, and that's why I remember it, yeah? And during this time, I've been trying to find my moments. And then your relationship with money, whether circumstances pull you towards, for a moment, having less, or which it will happen. Money will always follow your character. As your character goes, you will have more. Your relationship with money is balanced, and you can remove the toil and the fear and the agony and the stress that we have around money. Remember, money follows identity, it follows character. Money does not form identity. So on page 39, let me just end with a quote here. On page 39 of the Making Sense book, I have written, instead of asking how much money do I want to make, you ought to ask yourself, what will I want to experience? What memories do I want to have? I have found on some level, many of us are waiting for money to become what we want or do what we dream of. We think that with more money, we would be somebody different or somebody better. If you had more money, would you spend more time with your family, volunteer, engage in what you really feel inspired to do, take care of your health, see the world, etc.? The truth is, you can't wait for money to be who you truly are. You have to be that somebody today. If you like to spend time with your family, spend today. If you like to write, write today. If you like to cook, you cook today. If you like to listen to people, listen today. If you're a creative, don't wait for a job. Start creating today. So yeah, so with that, I'll stop there. We can put up the slide for where people can get the book. So guys, I really hope that that has helped you. If you do, remember, you are enough. I started by telling you, you are enough, and I'll end with you are enough. You can get the Making Sense book. The details are on screen. You can call the number on screen and it can be delivered to you. You can also request for me to autograph it, and we can also arrange for that. You can get it online, Raffo Books, Amazon, Nuria, and our bookshop partners are listed there. Bookstop at Yaya Center, Africa Book Hub, and Prestige. So I encourage you to get the book, and also I encourage you to keep investing in yourself. Do not let what is happening with other people, what is happening with your circumstance, be what defines you. Do not let the people who are so loud in spreading the negativity, don't let their limitations become your reality. Thank you very much. Sheba, maybe you'll say something about the how money can be enough through Centonomy 101.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Waceke. Even Bete is saying the conversation was very timely. It was also very timely for me, and this was amazing. And if you're out there, you've not yet registered or signed up for the Centonomy Personal Finance Program, which we call Centonomy 101, we welcome you to come and just do what we've just talked about. Learn about how you can accelerate your journey, how you can manage your money in depth, and even how you can deal with debt. So many questions around where do you invest, and even is insurance an investment? We get to talk about this, and I'm very excited to see you all in class. In next week. Yeah, that's next week. Karibuni sana.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Wish you a good weekend, and I will look forward to seeing you next Friday, 2 p.m. Please spread the word and continue staying safe, but let us also move forward. Thank you very much.